Morning, everybody, and aloha. Welcome to Just Talking 24, page 29. Before we even go on, I've got to explain I don't know where this thing is going. I wanted to start it one way, but it went so many ways from it. I wanted to talk about the strategic, pinpoint surgical bombing mission that um, the U.S. took on Iran's nuclear manufacturing sites and how incredibly accurate it was and how incredibly successful it appears to have been. Now, I say appear because we don't get the truth. We don't get the 100% truth. All we can see is what we can see from satellites. And from what I see at one spot, there was three holes in the ground. And they're not explosive holes that way. They're explosive holes that way. You can tell because of the way the hole is. It's like a burrow. It's not like you put a stick of dynamite in the ground and blew it up. It's like you dug a hole, and that's what they essentially that's what those barn busters did. They dug holes, and incredibly, to me that's a success. See, you guys know, okay? I always talk about, you talk the talk, you gotta walk the walk. The proof is in the pudding. You know, don't listen, watch what they do. That's my philosophy. And it's been very eerie because the news blackout what it appears to be. We're not getting any reports. I mean, if we had failed, if Donald Trump had failed, it would be blasted all over the media, but nothing is. Okay? And all the things that have happened since then have not touched the media. I haven't heard of them. They haven't been reported. Um, I heard that one of our local schools that the one of the classes are protesting because the budget cuts. The state has to cut budgets because the federal government has cut budgets to the state, especially in under the education department. President Trump has done away with the federal education department, and it's not because of he doesn't want the kids educated. He does, but you the state, you getting federal money, and then you tell us the feds, you don't tell us what to do. We decide what we're gonna do. Fine. You wanna decide, you pay for it. You see what I mean? But people don't report that. All they say is President Trump is against the education. No, he's not, folks. But if your state is going to take, and the states do, they say, we have the Department of Education. It's under our jurisdiction. Okay, fine. We're not paying for it. It's like my stand on abortion. Okay, my stand on abortion is this: a woman is free to do what she wants to do with her body. I grant her that. If she can live with it, if she wants an abortion, she can have an abortion. Do not ask me to pay for it. Has been my stance from decades ago. I don't mind abortions. I mean, you have a freedom of choice, okay? And the responsibility is you've got to live your life knowing that you had a fetus aborted. And that's something that every woman has to bear their own. That's called a skeleton in the closet. We all have skeletons in our closets. If you don't have a skeleton in your closet, you didn't live. You've lived in that closet. Okay? So a woman can do it. Just don't ask me to pay for your mistakes or your decisions. That's all. You take responsibility. So now, like this school that wants, that had education cuts, they're blaming the state. And it's all about these classes teach them in Olelo, which is native Hawaiian language. And that's fine and good. But they want the state to pay for it. And the state really can't. The state can't pay for that kind of program. And the reason why is because if they do that for Hawaiian, they've got to do that if you want to start a Japanese school, if you want to start a Chinese school, any language school you want to start, the state's going to have to pay for it. But in Hawaii, we have the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, which is a pseudo governmental, and it's pseudo because the reason why I say it's pseudo is that the Hawaiian people have never been recognized as an indigenous people. You know, like the Indians? Yeah. It'll never happen, folks. They will never um, recognize us. And when I say us, because I am part Hawaiian, recognize the Hawaiian people as an indigenous people. And why? Control and power. Look what happened to the American Indians or the Eskimo. Those are recognized indigenous peoples, and look at the amount of autonomy they have. You know, on the res, their rules, the Big Brother can't grab them. So the same thing would happen to the Hawaiians. Plus, too, the Hawaiians they're not cohesive. They don't have one tribe. We don't have. All we have is Hawaiians. And okay, I gotta find out why my camera shut off. Okay, it came back on again. Hello, welcome back. Um, and so that's what the uh, Hawaiians have to do. They've got to first get, and that was the Akaka bill. The Akaka bill was drafted and offered by Senator Daniel Akaka, who was a senator from Hawaii, and he wanted the Hawaiians recognized. Okay, never was passed. I don't know if it even got out of committee, but it was never passed. And that should show you something. Don't listen to what the people say. Look at what they do. Same thing with this Iranian thing. There's been no coverage as to the aftermath because the aftermath probably is successful. Um, Also, what's happened since then has not been covered. All we know is that Iran is going to go to the peace talks with Israel. Also, Iran, they staged, and I mean staged, this was totally staged, a counterattack against the U.S. They fired 14 missiles at a U.S. base, but they let the U.S. base know that the 14 missiles are coming, and the U.S. took out 13 of them. And the reason why they didn't take off the 14th is because the 14th was so off target, they just let it go. It's not worth our time. But the Iranians had to let the U.S. know because if they had not let the U.S. know, the U.S. would have taken that as an act of aggression, retaliation, and then we would have turned Iran into a giant sheet of glass. Yeah, pretty much, or it would look like the moon. And after that happened, and they had to do that so that they can tell their people that we took a decisive and totally destructive counterattack against the U.S. and we obliterated their base and the infidel American dogs and this kind of propaganda kind of crap, so that the hierarchy can remain in power. See, folks, it's all about power. But what has happened since then? China has agreed to the tariffs. Yeah, they've opened trade again with the U.S. Remember, they said, okay, we're not going to trade with the U.S. because of the tariffs. Well, guess what? They opened it up again. Ukraine and Russia, they're going to go back to the peace talks. They're actually going to try for peace. See, I don't see that attack that we performed as a act of war, like AOC, that Representative AOC from New York said, an act of war. No, it wasn't an act of war. Think of it as an exercise of discipline. You know, once in a while, you gotta slap them behind the bed to get their attention. You gotta show them you still got the big stick. That's what I did with my nieces and nephews. I wanted to, if you tell them, don't get Uncle mad because Uncle, Uncle is very strong. And they don't, they'll they'll hear it, and, because of my size. Well, what I did was I went downstairs and I had a 2x4, placed against the wall, at a whatever degree angle it was. And I told them, watch this. And I hit it. And that 2x4 just shattered. And I said, that is called power. Any questions? Nope. Once in a while, you've got to show. People get complacent. People think they can run all over you. And that's what's happening on the mainland now. I saw a clip about a protest in Florida. They were protesting the construction of that alligator Alcatraz, they call it, where they're going to make an Alcatraz on an island in the Everglades. They call it alligator Alcatraz. And so the people were protesting the contractors, in the construction. But they protested it from the sidewalks like they're supposed to. They can make all the noise they want, as long as, it's not in a residential area. And you had all of these people on the sidewalk where like they're supposed to. Now, one person was in the street. Why? Because the governor of Florida came out and said, you're free to protest, no problem. But you protest and you block a car and the car runs you over. Guess what? Guess whose fault? That's right. It's the person's fault for putting himself in front of a car. I used to tell this to jaywalkers. Like once in a while, I rode along with the Ford Watch, what they call F Troop. That's Foot Patrol. And we stop and we talk to people about jaywalking. And especially the tourists in Waikiki. Oh, I mean, Kalakaua Avenue is 5 lanes wide. And these people think they can sprint that 50 feet, or whatever it is, 60 feet, 65 feet. They think they can sprint it in a blink of an eye, and they can't. And so you cite them for jaywalking. And, they're over there complaining. I tell them, something's really weird about Hawaii. Hawaii, we have very strange drivers. If they're going down the road at 30 miles an hour and you run in front of their car, they will hit you. I don't know why. They just do. And they'll stop eventually, when auto mechanics come into place, and they'll stop. But let me tell you, if you understand physics, one car hitting you, the weight of the car times the speed equals the power, the mass, equals velocity, equals inertia, equals energy that's going to go into your body. Your body cannot withstand that kind of pressure. Instantaneous pressure. That's what causes injuries. And also, you're probably going to fly and then you're going to hit something, and that trauma from the sudden stop is going to give you more injuries. You're going to get hurt or possibly killed. That's why you're getting cited. You know how to cross the street. We have lights for that. Please. And then the F Troop is listening to me talk to these people, and he goes, hey, you're pretty good. Yeah, I learned a little. But no, it's just basic. If you follow the rules, and we have rules for a reason. The rules are order. Once you think you're above the rules, that's called anarchy, and no society can exist in an anarchical situation or environment. And that's what they're trying to do. But by this lack of media coverage, it says volumes. It's hard to get, true. I have to go to these rogue sites on the internet. And then even within those rogue sites, you've got to decipher which one is true, which one is not true, because you got, I've recently found X, Elon Musk's channel, and on that, you get, both, the truth and the untruths, and it's it, it's kind of refreshing because there's so much untruths out there. What I perceive, and these people, a lot of them are fearful. They're afraid that and they're afraid of what I was telling you, that everything's going nuts nowadays. They don't understand, and they're all blaming who else? President Trump. One man can bring down a nation of 350 million. That is fantastic. Really, that is power. But see, does he want the power? No, they're giving him the power. Remember that story I told you about the guys? I was getting their accounts in for towing from other towing companies, and they come up and they tell me, "Hey, how come you taking my accounts?" And I tell them, "I'm not taking them. You giving them to me. Don't drink. When 6 o'clock comes, don't grab the beer. Grab the phone and answer your calls. Stay sober. Learn to read. Learn to knit. Learn to do anything. But when they call, you gotta answer. What happens? They call, you answer, and you tell them, I don't want to go, and because they can tell already, you drunk. You've been drinking. You don't want to work anymore. So fine, but the customer still has to be serviced. So what they call around, they call me. My reputation gets around, especially in my side of the island. My reputation got around, and people call me. And pretty soon, all the after hours stuff I would get, and I'd tell them, I'm sorry, I can't come. I used to book, okay, from 6 a.m. to midnight, which I call 12 p.m., I think, or is that 12 a.m., whatever, to midnight, okay. I, those, that's my hours of operation, 18 hours a day. And, you have to figure out where the car is, where you're going to be dropping off the car before, how long it's going to take you to get there, and I mean, you've got to run this through your mind. That's multitasking. You've got to be able, and then you've got to be set this up, and then I'm driving, talking on the phone, figuring this. It's quite stimulating. It is, because I had to do all of that. I did all of that. I didn't have an office that you have a person answering phones, and then they've got to know all of this, what you've got, how long it takes to hook it up, how long it takes to get it to that port, and then from that destination, take it to another, get yourself to another place, and you've got to set it up. So I used to set up appointments from 6 a.m. to 12 midnight. And many a time, if you call me past 10 a.m. on a Monday morning, I'm scheduling you for Tuesday pickup. That's how busy I was. Not all the time. I mean, it happened quite frequently though. I'd catch up around Wednesday, and then Sundays were Sundays were pretty free, but that left Saturday night. And Saturday night you get a lot of them are real fast ones. Lockouts from in Waikiki, and then but then I take my truck too because you never know when you're going to get another call for an actual toll. Um, and anyway, it's all word of mouth. So, and what's funny is with this in this day of higher technology and all this communication, you know, advantages, and all these devices that we can communicate with, they're all silent. Most of them, except for X, and X is full of both sides. So you've got to weed it out. And from what I get, like I said, YouTube. I went on YouTube and they have what they call shorts, where they actually film. Well, they're recording news conferences with the president, with Caroline Levitt, with Pam Bondi, you know, and you've got to you. And a lot of times they're just filming, and nothing's happening. And you got to take the time and you just got to watch this, watch this, watch this. Then when they come out and talk, they're going to talk, talk, talk. And you got to, from that, you got to decipher what, what's worth it, what's not worth it. But um, President Trump, he's doing all right. I noticed our gas prices went down and then they went back up. I don't understand that because the price of crude didn't go up. It went down and then greed came in. See, that's one thing when you're on a rock. When you're on a rock, you're almost held captive. Um, we have a monopoly of electricity. We have a monopoly on gas, cooking gas. We have a monopoly on our water. We have monopoly on our sewer. We have a monopoly. It's all one company except for communications. We have what, two or three companies that handle communications. So, but and so there is a little bit of a war there, but everything else goes to the Public Utilities Commission. Whoop de doo, rubber stamp for the money from the energy companies, like our electric company, Hawaiian Electric. I mean, it's all what in Hawaii we call it shibai, fertilizer. You know what I mean? And that's all it is. But it's so hard to get, and that's the sad part about this whole thing now. It's hard to get real newspaper. I mean, our newspaper is called the Advertiser. Yeah, and it is. It's full of advertisement, and it's like $100 something for subscription. And I'm not gonna pay $100 something for advertisement and very little biased, one-sided news. Come on, you gotta be smoking crack. But that's the way our it's going in Hawaii. Yeah. And so for us, that's why I put this out. I hope to get in touch with the mainland, and I hope you guys get in touch with me. Let's converse. Let's exchange ideas. Let's be the people that we hope we can be. Making America great again. What is that? They used to talk before. Now they don't talk. You notice how silent even Congress is. Well, they're voting now on the big beautiful bill. And from what I understand, I think it passed the Senate because J.D. Vance was called in to cast the deciding vote. The big beautiful bill. I mean, everybody wants the piece of the pie, and everybody's not getting it, so everybody's not going to vote for it. I have yet to see what it is. All I hear is again, that it's going to attack Medicare. Oh yeah, it is. It will attack Medicare because it'll take out stuff like prepaid abortions. It'll pay, sex change drugs for minors, stuff like that. I don't know what's in it, but I know that's what that's what President Trump wants to hit, that kind of stuff. The morally correct stuff. So he's going to hit Medicare, of course. I mean, if it's part of Medicare and you hit it, you've hit Medicare. What else was going to hit? What they said, well, no tax on tips and no tax on, what was that? Chips and something else. But, which is rightly so. Tips are gratuities. That's what people are grateful for the service that you gave. Now, what's going to happen? Okay, it's going to go the other. See, I don't know if they put the loophole stoppers in there or they kept the loopholes in there. So what the place is going to do is they're going to pay you minimum wage and supplement you with tips. And it shouldn't be like that. The owners of the businesses, and I know it's really hard to run a business because they want, I don't know, they want 25, like insurance companies when they post 32% profits. That's unheard of. That's ridiculous. But that's the way it's going, and that's the way we're going. And that's why I said President Trump has so much to do and so much corruption. And one man, I'd like to think that one man can do it, but he can't because we're not behind him. Everybody's sitting back and watching what he does. I'm trying to get the word out there, and I need your help in getting it out there. And please give me questions, give me comments. Okay, and I don't want to hear because you're wrong. Okay, that's an opinion. It's not a comment. Although an opinion is a comment, no, give me suggestions on what to talk about, and I'll try to talk about them. And a lot of people that will try, they're just trying to catfish, right? Is that what it's called, catfishing? You know, and I won't stand for it because the thing that the media is doing right now, by telling us nothing, tells me volumes. That means it's working. He's working. His programs are working. His plan is working on that level. Not everything, but it's working enough to that. I mean, it depends on your opponents, right? How strong they are. Do you need a slingshot or do you really need a gun? And against the media and all that so-called power, right now, all he needs is a slingshot because their boss. The people's confidence in the news is like mine. Very little. Tiki. That's what it's called, tiki. Skoshi. Very little. And I hope that somebody will come out and come out and say, hey, you know what? The emperor's got no clothes. And I'm not talking about Trump being the emperor being the establishment and that ugly machine that we've made and expose it. And we're trying to, bit by bit, it's trying to. But like I said, I didn't know which way this program, this page was going to go. But I'd like to congratulate President Trump and our military for what appears to be a over the top. I mean, it must have been very successful because Russia, Ukraine, they're going to talk peace. China says, okay, we're going to go back to trade. All of a sudden, we're getting, all these positive movements by by the countries. So what we did probably got their attention. We're not just talking the talk. We actually walked the walk, and it must have been successful. I mean, like I said, all I saw was 3 holes in the ground, and there was a picture of I think it was a Florida Explorer, one of the older Explorers, not the big ones, but the compact Explorers. But it showed it was maybe about, I would say 50, 75 yards away from the hole. It was in touch. And you had these 3 holes in the ground. And like I said, those holes means a burrowing type of, especially when you're dropping, 3,500 pound bombs in there. Yeah, you know what kind of explosive power are we talking? I mean, it would just blow a crater. But there were 3 holes. And that to me says that means the blast, the force of the blast went down. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. Congratulations. And I just want to see where we go from here. But like I said, how you get the news of it, right? If the news media is not going to report on it. But anyway, just have to get that off my chest, gang. And next week, I don't know. I think I'm going to be, unless something comes up, it's going to be on conspiracies. That one's going to be fun. And I'm going to have some of the main, two of the main conspiracies. And the second one, stuff is coming out now, just coming out. But anyway, I don't want to give you too much. I just want enough to just wet your whistle. So, stay tuned. But I want you guys to have a great week. And it's been fun. And I just want to say, ahui ho, malama pono. And from me to you, aloha. Bye bye. Love you. Bye bye.